Welcome back to the GB Guns Armory series. This series, as a reminder, is more my thoughts and feels after the facts and performance has already been outlined in the full reviews and over on my website. Today we're talking about the Sarıcam S-19. Now, generally, my idea with the GB Guns Armory series is that these things have been out for a while and there's a chance for people to add their experiences or what they've heard or seen about the guns. This one's pretty new, and chances are you haven't seen one before. If you're watching this before the reviews are out on the main channel, you should have already seen them over at my website. I have that for a reason. Not allowed to mention on YouTube anymore, unfortunately, but on Rumble, you guys know where it's at, and thanks for joining us over here on Rumble. So, what is it? Well, it's basically another Gen 4 Glock clone. That's what everyone wants to call it right off the bat. I don't disagree. It has parts interchangeability with them. What does it offer that a Glock doesn't? Well, it's about half the price, maybe less, and it's got lightning cuts on the slide. I've said this many other times, but just in case there's somebody new, I'm going to say it again. Speed holes is a funny thing to say. It's also fun to argue that you don't want cuts in your slide for all those times you get into a grappling gunfight inside of a grain silo. I get it. But for the rest of us, it really doesn't affect performance aside from improve it. When you take weight off of the slide, when you reduce reciprocating mass, that means you have less weight shifting in your hand every time the gun cycles, and it tends to make for a flatter shooting gun, especially if you retain the weight down here out on the nose, but reduce it up here. This is why you see a lot of YouTubers that want to shoot fast and look smooth put a giant flashlight on their gun, even though they're shooting in broad daylight because they're obviously filming a video. The Sarıcam S-19, just happened to me again. I had this issue happen a few times, it not quite going fully into battery. There's some slight wear on the barrel hood, feels like more finish wear than anything else, but what I do feel in racking it, and I pointed this out in the tabletop, and we did experience a little bit with it on the range, is the action feels a little bit gummy. Does that mean the gun sucks? No, it means the gun's Cerakoted. You see, Cerakote, in my experience, adds quite a bit of friction, especially in the action. And what I think happened in this is there's some Cerakote on the rails or on the rail guide slots inside of the slide. Does that mean it's a bad gun or poor quality control? I don't think so. It just means it happened, and it's something you can wear through. Why am I so not upset about it? This is a very, very affordable gun. Those of you that have read the article know the price already. Quite affordable for something that otherwise matches all of the things you'd get from the big name brand, aside from it weighing almost 5 ounces less, and it comes with steel sights, real steel sights on it. These magazines, which are theirs, have witness windows on both sides, and this nice little base plate, for me, acted perfectly as a place for my pinky finger. So if you're a larger handed guy like me and you've avoided the Glock 19 size platform because your hand simply doesn't fit on the gun, these mags do it. Of course it takes Glock mags, and I tried a wide variety of Glock magazines as are outlined in the full review, but I didn't have any issues with these, and I did appreciate having a place for my pinky to rest. What else does it do better than the factory? Well, I found the trigger to be much more predictable. You guys saw it in the tabletop, or will once you see that video. Spring-loaded take up to a wall, very crisp break. You still get that authoritative push forward reset that people love about the Glock trigger platform, but you don't get the dragging a trash can through gravel trigger experience, as one of my friends once described a factory Glock trigger. So I think it's a pretty good deal. Is it going to last up to millions and millions of rounds? I don't know. And quite frankly, I don't care, because when things cost this much, if you can afford to shoot it out, you can also afford to replace it or repair it. So I think it'll be fine. A little bit of what looked like slide droop or frame droop a little bit up front here, which I've noticed. I've seen some guns, even from famous factories, have that when they use different colors of polymer, simply because I don't want to say strength, but the molecular alignment, the qualities of the polymer in different colors, slightly different. Sometimes maybe the cooling or setting time is slightly different, and that might have caused this little bit of droop out front, but it really doesn't offend me. especially for a gun at this price point. I'm not going to complain about it. It did not affect function at all. The little bit of slide hang up is not happening there because guess what? There's no contact out front there. So if you're looking for an affordable option, say it's not a bad idea. If you want to tinker but don't want to risk messing up something fancy or something more complicated, one of the things that I love about the Glock platform is because Glock failed to innovate, failed to listen to customer feedback, and failed to improve or change their product in any way for decades, the aftermarket came to answer. You see, after Glock forced their way into so many contracts that the guns were everywhere, there were a lot of them out there, and so that meant that the aftermarket was a good business to be in. We see tons of parts, and the Glock uses so few parts that it's very simple to work on and very easy to do. I used to have a series of videos on it on the channel. YouTube deleted them. Now that I'm also on Rumble, maybe I'll recreate those and put them up on Rumble. I don't know, but they're forbidden on YouTube now, so can't show them over there. But what I'm getting at is if you want something to get into to start to learn the functions of a firearm and how certain parts can change performance, how changing the weight of a certain spring or the smoothness of a surface area on a certain part of the action will change the way the trigger feels or the recoil, things like that. I highly recommend the Glock platform. It is the great beginner's gun, and this is priced at a great spot too, where you can play with it, and if you mess it up, it's not as bad as messing up a $600 gun, something like that. Other feedback on here, the finger grooves misalign for me as they do on all guns of this size. I end up with, because I've got a large middle finger, it pushes to that peak of that finger groove there, and then everything else ends up on the peaks. So I end up with the least amount of surface area instead of enhanced surface area to hold onto the gun. That's a me thing, it doesn't really matter. The texture on it, not super grippy, but the recoil is also not bad at all thanks to that lighter slide. So it really doesn't need to be super grippy. The gun's not trying to jump out of your hands. As I recall, I filmed this on a very wet and rainy day, and I don't think I had any major issues. One spot you may want to play with stippling, and you've even got an outline thing for it, are these index memory points on both sides of the gun. You can see that in the mold, they intended for that to be enhanced traction there, but really it's more visual than anything else. Those are my thoughts on the Sarıcam S-19. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you in the next video.
Thank you to our Patreon supporters. JB Guns and I do level. Andrew B, Joseph T, Randy A, LG, Peter A, Tom, what's his S, Fast Eddie, Polo 215, Brian P, Sky King, Derek S Jr. Thanks for the tip level. David P, Kratos the God Slayer, Andrew B, Lee H, Christopher J, J S, Fun and Grateful, Jeff Michael W, David G, Oki to the Fred